So the question here is, are they proportionate? What makes you think so or think not? So hopefully you've done a little thinking of this before you're watching the video. Um, and so one of the things that you should be thinking about is, what does it mean to be proportionate? So maybe we go to some resources and we look this up in a dictionary. So I look up proportionate, being in due proportion, proportional, being in a proper proportion. Uh, okay, so I guess I need to know what the word proportion meant. So I looked that up. That says comparative relation between things or magnitudes as size, quantity, number. So some comparison, some relationship on how I'm comparing things in terms of their size, their quantity, their number, etc., their ratio. So I guess I should look up ratio. So I looked up ratio and I got uh, rel- relation in degree or number between two things. So we're talking about a comparison of two things that have a relation in the number or degree of them that are similar. So lots of ways I could read into this. So let's go back to our problem now. So the question is, are these? Well, these are similar things, and so I guess I can compare them and their relative size. So one thing maybe to think about is, if I trace, green's probably not the best color. If I trace the outline of this giraffe, and I were to try to scale it down, would it shrink down to the same size as this baby giraffe if the baby giraffe were in the same position? Because that's one way to think of it, is that it's the same shape but a different size. So let's see that if I shrunk him down. A little too much. So that seems relatively similar, relatively proportionate, right? If the baby giraffe put its head down, I would be pretty close to right on the line. So giraffes are actually a rare species, are proportionate. So let's same shape, different size, right? Because you can imagine if it's and you'll notice when I made that grow, I grabbed the corner. Most people think it will grab to change proportionately. A little more. Whereas if I change the giraffe this way, that would not be proportionate. Likewise, if I change the giraffe this way, it would also not be proportionate. The same shape a lot of people like to think of, but it's that the relative sizes of each thing is the same to other things. So same shape, different size. And if you think about humans, humans, if this was a human, and I were to shrink it down, is this what a baby would look like? Let's make a copy. Let's see. Is this what an adult to a baby would look like? Well, it turns out that it wouldn't, and if actually a baby would look more like, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but babies' heads are really not proportionate to their bodies relative to adults. They have much bigger heads in general, except for my kids who had smaller heads to start with, at least my older son Kieran. So he was more proportionate than most. But so giraffes are a rare species where they are proportionate. Now the second picture, it leaves to interpretation. Are they proportionate to each other? Are they proportionate to themselves? Like, what do you mean? Well, I don't know what I mean. But what I do know is that the relative size of this gorilla to another gorilla, if I were to create a real life gorilla that was the same size as the boy, it would probably be, that big or even bigger. And so are the proportions. Yes, the relative length of the arms to the head, the relative length of the legs to the body, etc., are in a correct proportion. It's not like it's super shrunk down or much fatter than expected. It is in a relative proportion from a gorilla standpoint, and so is the boy. But someone might say, yeah, but the gorilla should be much bigger. So that I'll leave to interpretation. I'm not sure if I would say, they are. It is a relation in number between in size, right? There is a relationship in size. So that would make me think it's not proportionate because I would expect the size of the gorilla to be larger than the boy. But it is a comparison between two things. I can say that there is a head relative to an arm comparison that is proportionate. So it all depends on your interpretation. But the key things to take away: same shape, different size. We talk about a proportion, a comparison of two things, which are ratios, and then a ratio being a comparison of two things. So we're going to use ratio and proportion a lot this unit.